Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Hana, evolutionary astrologer, and today I want to really dive deep into one of the biggest astrological shifts of our time, which is Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. This is not just a regular transit, this is truly a generational wave of transformation that we're already in. And it's going to reshape everything. It's going to reshape how we live, how we connect, technology and travel and space exploration. There's so much I want to share with you. There's so much I want to show you. But it really will in many ways shake the foundations and change our future. So first of all, this is a very long cycle. This is a 20-year cycle, a very long transit. So when we have these like very long transits, when you have one planet spending so long in one sign, this is going to be very significant for all of us. Of course, if you have planets in Aquarius, that's going to be even extra relevant for you. If you have planets in Leo, which is the opposite sign, so that Pluto is going to oppose those planets in Leo. And of course, squares as well. If you have planets in Taurus and Scorpio, this Pluto will square, that 90-degree angle to those planets. But regardless, this is going to be one of those big shifts and game changers. First of all, why? Why is Pluto going to be so many years in one sign? Just so you have an idea. Because Pluto is so far away from us, so far away from our sun and the earth, it takes 248 years for Pluto to go around the sun. So, because it's so slow, we're really talking about how it affects generations, not just individuals, not just our personal lives, but it's that deep and really long-term transformation. It's like cooking slowly. And we can say that the sign that Pluto is in, it's like that's the soul curriculum, for the people born during that period. So just so you have an idea, for example, when Pluto was in Aquarius, I'm sorry, when Pluto was in Scorpio, which was in the, 80s and the first few years of the 90s, that's when you have the millennials generation, right? That's the Pluto and Scorpio generation. Those who were born during the time when Pluto was in Scorpio. And then after that, when Pluto moved into Sagittarius, that's when we have the Gen Z, right? That's from 1995 to 2008. Um, then Pluto moved into Capricorn, which was from 2008 until 2023. So that's the generation Alpha, right? So now, as Pluto is moving in, has already moved into Aquarius, and it will be in Aquarius for until 2043. That's going to be, a new generation. I don't know what they're going to be called yet. Maybe the something to do with tech and maybe the quantum generation or something with maybe something to do with like the network and globalization and something like that. We'll see. But anyway, so this is a really big deal. And so again, Pluto moved into Aquarius for good officially. And because before it was still in Capricorn and then it entered Aquarius back in March 2023. It was in Aquarius just for a few months because it retrograded back into Capricorn. And then again moved into Aquarius in January 2024, retrograded back to Capricorn again, just to like, okay, we got to really wrap this up and if there's any unfinished business, we're gonna take care of it now until I fully move into Aquarius, which happened on November 19th, 2024. So Pluto is in Aquarius now for good. It's not going to go back to Capricorn. So we can say that we are officially in a Pluto in Aquarius era that will be active until 2044. So this is a 20-year cycle, very long term. Okay. this is again such a game changer at so many levels. To begin with, 2025 is a game changer year, including if you have not seen my video on, the astrological landscape of 2025, please do. So you have a just a general idea of all the other planets and what's going on. Because today I'm really going to focus on Pluto and Aquarius. But this really is this is going to be, I believe there's going to be such a clear shift on life before Pluto and Aquarius and life, after Pluto and Aquarius. It's going to look like a very different world. And just to be a tad more dramatic, it is worth noting that no one alive has seen this. No one alive has seen this activation happen or know someone that has seen this activation happen because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, and I actually want to take you to those times so you kind of have this idea of what was going on, what was going on during those times. So this is back in the years of 1777 and 1798. That's the last time Pluto was transiting Aquarius. And those were times of major, major social major political upheaval around the world. We're talking about several revolutions, including the French Revolution that was this like total game changer that really created this like domino effect throughout Europe, that really brought the abolition of monarchies and the transformation, which is a very Plutonic word. When we say transformation, we're like, okay, Pluto is involved, Pluto is in there. So it was really this transformation of old regimes into republics and democracy. So this was a time when the masses revolted, right? They said enough. They said, this can't go on. We need a new paradigm. We also had the American War of Independence, which of course, that was also a huge shift to led to the separation from the British Empire. This was also the time of the Age of Enlightenment, so these turning points, the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution as well. So we have these turning points in history that brought radical upheaval and rebellion and democracy and progress, because that is especially as an evolutionary astrologer, we're trained to look at the evolutionary intention of any planet, any cycle. And Pluto and Aquarius, it's really saying to all of us, to really the soul of humanity, to the evolutionary path of humanity, that we need to liberate and to liberate from old structures, old ways of being, old ways of doing things, old ways of thinking. And we need to update things. We need to elevate. We need a change. So this is going to be now the very first time that Pluto is in Aquarius since then. And that is the promise. That is the potential of this transit. We're really talking about, the potential for global revolutions, revolts, breaking away, against oppressive regimes, dictatorships, monarchies, anything that's old. They're going to be tested, and highly likely they're going to be highly transformed by this Pluto, because the intention is social progress, social changes, advancement, human rights. It really is a time of bringing a new paradigm, not just for, one group of people or one country. It's globally speaking, and hopefully drastically improving the quality of human life on this planet. So again, for all of us. And some of this will probably happen through major revolutions, major revolts, a lot of upheaval, protests, just like we had the French Revolution, the American Revolution. But ultimately, the end result and the intention is to uplift, right? It's to raise the standards of the way we live, our infrastructure, the way we operate, including the way we think. I mean, this is huge. Aquarius is the mind. So there's a lot here about the way we perceive reality, the way our mind works. you know. So if we go back to the French Revolution, um, this that event radically changed the way people thought about everything, about society, about power, about individual rights. So, and this was not just in France, this really had that domino effect that went across the world and really shifted the collective consciousness. Because before the revolution, kings were seen as they're chosen by the divine power, by God. And the revolution literally like shattered this idea, really proving that rulers could be held accountable and overthrown, which is exactly what happened, and literally losing their heads. So people began to question, power, and they started to demand more democratic systems. So we have new philosophies like liberty, equality, fraternity, that gain momentum. So it is that elevation of the way our mind thinks, the way our mind perceives things, the way our mind perceives reality in life. So you had so many thinkers at the time that were, these great philosophers that brought on these concepts of like human rights and reason. It was the age of reason, right? Like Voltaire, Rousseau. So all those enlightened ideals, like another key word for Aquarius is enlightenment, the lightning bolt. So this is a time when the masses really realized that they could change the structure of society. And that's what that really inspired revolutions uh, globally. And the other thing too that happened is that they redefined citizenship, which means that a citizen, a person, began having rights and a voice within the government. So not just the subject of the king, not just the subject of the monarch, but those shifts is exactly what helped to seed the foundations of a modern um, democracy and a modern democratic identity. So you see how Aquarius inspires modernity, and now, so this was, last time Pluto was in Aquarius, and now we're in the age of technology, right? So this has everything to do with science and technology. We can expect innovations of all kinds, discoveries, breakthroughs, when we talk about medicine. This is a time that carries so much potential for us to discover cures for all types of conditions and illnesses that have been incurable. Alzheimer's, dementia, all of the brain, neurological issues. This can be a time where we find, where we have breakthroughs, HIV, cancer, all of this. I mean, the list is so endless. Going back to the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, so you can have this idea on what to expect this time. So last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had the birth of modern vaccination, which was, of course, a historical medical breakthrough. They I forgot his name now, developed the smallpox vaccine. And this really marked the beginning of immunology and really completely transformed. Again, look at this, pay attention to the word transformed Pluto, the global public health, over time. Of course, it wasn't just like one day, one day was one, the society was operating one day, then the next day was completely different. It was like Pluto, it was slow, but it did bring, deep, deep transformation. The other thing was also public health reforms, so anything about with the last time Pluto was in Aquarius with the Enlightenment age, we had sanitation, we had hygiene, all those things that started to become more part of daily life, including cities started to collect health data, leading to now the early versions of what is it called? God, I never know how to say this word, epidemiology or something like that. Anyways, um, also the foundations of modern medical science. So, the scientific method, all of those things gain, increased focus. And there was this like surge of like public dissections and the birth of a lot of medical schools and anatomical studies as well. So again, there is a lot of this, this greater separation of medicine from religion. So really deconstructing those old power structures and bringing in, pushing towards innovation. So again, we can expect during this time huge leaps in the medical field, including increasing life expectancy. We are already hearing so much about biohacking the body, right? Which is, bringing all these hacks and tricks in order to enhance our performance and live longer. So Gen Z, I believe, is already, so the ones born in the 90s, late 90s, they're already predicted to live over 100 years old. So this is a period when we can learn and discover all those things that can lead to literally the superhuman. So a lot of acceleration, a lot of um, regenerative medicine, anti-aging, cellular rejuvenation, all of those things, including, of course, AI being a part of healthcare, being a part of the diagnostic process and maybe even robotic surgeries, you know, maybe even more personalized treatment plans based on the genetic data, virtual hospitals. It is possible. With Pluto and Aquarius, it's absolutely possible. And like I mentioned, all sorts of breakthroughs in the neurosciences, anything related to the brain is Aquarius. The same way that we had the birth of vaccination, now we can have maybe new revolutionary, vaccines, disease control. So all of it is possible. And this is not just about health. We're really talking about all arenas of life, engineering, transportation, infrastructure, the way cities are built and connected. Aquarius is that system of network. So, also the field of genetics, physics, neurosciences, airlines, the travel industry. So really, the potential and the intention is it's a time for creative renaissance on every arena of life, which is really exciting, which is really cool. Of course, this also has everything to do with space travel, right? Space exploration becoming more and more real. I mean, NASA is going to be busier than ever. NASA was born with a sun Uranus in Leo. And I thought I had the chart here. But anyways, yes, NASA was born under the sun Uranus. So Pluto and Aquarius is going to oppose this NASA sun Uranus in Leo. It's going to shake things up. Maybe there's going to be some, hidden secrets popping up. Who knows? But an option. But last time, and another thing really interesting too is that last time Pluto was in Aquarius, that's exactly when Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, was discovered. And that marked a major shift in astronomy, right? It was the very first planet to be discovered with a telescope. So it was that expansion of our known solar system for the very first time in modern history. So it's a new planet. We are already now discovering so much, right? What are we going to discover now? We already have the James Webb, the James Webb Space Telescope, and we've already discovered, I believe, the oldest galaxies and exoplanets, and we have these like super high resolution images of the planets and Jupiter and their moons and Saturn, just so beautiful. And this is just year one, you know, this is the beginning. This is like the baby just being born, it's like what are we gonna see? Imagine all the things they're going to be discovered. space tourism. Imagine just instead of going to a vacation to Bali or France, you go to a different planet or a different star system, push for Mars and moon colonies and beyond. I mean, I'm just giving some examples here, but really to say the sky is the limit is limited for Pluto and Aquarius. Um, and hopefully also planetary sustainability breakthroughs as well. I cannot not mention because this one is it's just so possible here. Um, Extraterrestrial life beyond the Earth. May this can be a time where we're going to discover alien life and hopefully start to interact with it. Maybe during these next, this Pluto and Aquarius time, maybe this will become a normal part of our daily lives, where instead of just, connecting with people in different countries and different sides of the world, we're actually connecting with beings from different planets. And if this happens, imagine if they give us technology. Imagine if they teach us things that can really be game changers, that can really help us, in all of those fields and beyond. So this is absolutely, especially when we bring Uranus in Gemini. Uranus is about to move into Gemini. It's going to be in Gemini for the next 7 years. Gemini um, are our neighbors, and Gemini is our neighbors, and Uranus is space. It's intergalactic. So this is really this opening window for society to become more open to the possibility of alien life and how that would really shift our paradigm completely, right? For every human on Earth. And this can be the beginning of the interstellar human, so really transforming from Homo sapiens to Homo galactus, So it's again, I mean, it's a super incredible activation for the field of astrology as well, for the future of astrology. Astrology is an Aquarius field. So, maybe it's going to continue to be more and more popular, more people are having access to it, can be a renaissance for the astrological field as well, especially the practice of evolutionary astrology, which really emphasizes the soul journey and those deep psychological shifts, which it's very much that combination of Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto is that we gotta go deep, we gotta understand the psychology and the subconscious and the inner world, and Aquarius is that mind, So we'll see also what happens in terms of astrology, in terms of the evolution of astrology. So maybe more scientific exploration of astrology, maybe maybe there's going to be some sort of a growing scientific curiosity towards astrology. Maybe there's going to be a merging with other fields as well, maybe with like quantum mechanics and maybe the neurosciences and all new forms of consciousness, really. So hopefully we might see astrology's role in really helping people access expanded states of awareness. And of course, with personal growth and universal knowledge, maybe there's going to be new techniques for astrology, we'll see. But again, the potential, I really wanted to spend some good time speaking about the extraordinary potential that this Pluto and Aquarius carry because it really is beyond our minds can even fathom, can even understand. And even though I covered a lot, we're really truly just barely scratching the surface because we're just in the beginning of this cycle. But what is the risk? What is the downside? What are the shadows that this transit carries? Because no astrological transit comes without risks or challenges and learning experiences, especially Pluto. Because Pluto, wherever Pluto is, it is going to reveal the darkness. It's going to reveal to us what needs to be transformed, what needs to be reassessed, what needs to be purged, changed. So the message of Pluto is always transforming the shadow into light, right? So as exciting as these innovations and advancements can be, there can also be dangers and risks. And that's, to me, that's the magic of astrology because it helps to illuminate the path ahead. And by understanding it, by understanding what is the intention of this Pluto in Aquarius, the potentials, the risks, the challenges, we can not only understand what's coming and prepare ourselves, but through our free will, through our awareness, we can make more empowered choices and work on our inner world, If we want to change the matrix, we got to do the inner work. Um, so yeah, so one of the shadows of this transit that we have to be very cautious with is moving too quickly, too fast, too furious. And of course, this has a lot to do with technological overload, right? We can see rapid technological advancements and including over-reliance on technology, over-reliance on AI. So there is that risk of losing personal agency, losing personal autonomy in this like super tech-driven world, including all sorts of cyber issues. We're already experiencing this, but intensifying it. For example, privacy violations, surveillance concerns, loss of privacy, manipulation through technology. The risk is these large tech corporations using technology as a tool for manipulating us, control us, take away civil liberties, take away personal freedom, which is the intention, right? It is personal freedom, it is civil rights, it is progress. So it's the flip side of that. And lies, deceit, that's all Pluto territory. That's the low vibration of Pluto is lies, deceit, manipulation, intimidation, and using your power in all the wrong ways and abusing it. So technology, of course, and AI becoming more and more part of our lives, which carries great potential. It can really help us, right? It can really make things easier, faster. But we have to carry this question here during this time. Is the new really better? Because it can also be misused. We talked about the superhuman. We can get to that superhuman, at our peak performance, living, I don't know, 1,000 years, but disconnected from the heart, no compassion, no love. Aquarius is the mind. It's a very mental energy, which is truly amazing because we need our minds. But the opposite of Aquarius is Leo, which is the heart. So any planet in Aquarius, especially Pluto, we need to be extra mindful about not disconnecting from our hearts, our emotions, the earth, our planet, and becoming all mind, super mental intelligence, super amazing mental capacities and great solutions and breakthroughs, but no heart, no emotional intelligence, social isolation, alienation, loneliness, all sorts of disconnection, mental health crises due to too much screen, too much digital, too much virtual world. Um, when we talk about the space age, that's another one. Our Earth is suffering. We know this. So is it worth going to, you know, the furthest galaxy, building cities in the sky and continuing to mistreat our planet, our mother, our earth, our home, right? So Pluto and Aquarius can be very quick to destroy on and bring progress and upgrade and having all these breakthroughs and accelerating to the next star system, happening everything happening so quickly. And without the proper integration, because it's fast, it's happening fast, it's acceleration. Aquarius brings speed and acceleration. So we need to always be working on our foundation. It needs to be solid and secure and well established. And emotional integration, because the speed of Aquarius can't make us really go too fast, too furious, and lose that heart emotional connection. Um, and connection with nature. You know, Pluto, the Pluto in Aquarius can even bring this um because it's focusing on the future, you know, it can make us forget the earth itself. You know, it's all digital, it's all virtual, it's all artificial systems. What about organic living? What about the ways of nature, right? Space, what matters is out there, it's going out there, it's leaving the earth, when we need to also pay attention to what's down here and all the problems that we're having down here. Um, Another risk is all sorts of technological and climate disasters tied to science and innovation. When we talk about social shifts and political shifts, you know, again, the same thing about collapsing and restructuring governments and institutions, all sorts of way of decentralizing power. So we have, you know, this in itself, it's a huge subject, but you know, crypto and digital nations and you know, things happening so fast that can lead to chaos. It can lead to a lot of instability and civil unrest and uprisings and revolutions. Um, if yes, Pluto and Aquarius is asking us to break down the traditional beliefs, but if it's done too fast, it can cause existential crisis. We got to think about that. And Aquarius is also the elite. So instead of power to the people, which was exactly what happened during the, um, the French Revolution, instead of power to the people, it is power to the elite, power to that selected group. So again, we need to be very mindful of that, and especially with the tech companies and you know all of those who are involved in these Aquarius themes. Um, and one thing that I want to also mention about last time Pluto was in Aquarius, this was also the industrial revolution, which was a huge technological, societal shift that reshaped the world. Because some of the things that happened during the industrial revolution is what was the mechanization of labor. So we had all these new inventions like the steam engine, for example, like the factories and mass production started, you know, happening. So all those new inventions shifted economies from agrarian, rural to industrial. And then what happened, you know, everyone left the rural areas to work in the cities because that's where the jobs were. So we had this intense urban migration. So again, we see life shifting dramatically and the structures shifting dramatically as well. Same thing with the Enlightenment and revolutionary thought. You know, we had the American Revolution, the French Revolution that pushed for liberty and equality and collective power. Again, it was power to the people. So it was really bringing this to human rights, societal structures, and so we see the awesome changes that came through. But there was also exploitation of labor, you know, long working hours, very unsafe conditions, child labor, started to grow even more in factories and the mines and the factories, workers had, very little rights. So that is the what we need to be careful. It's the not letting this be an age of oligarchies where there's one elite or a few elite groups holding powers. It's like back then it was the factory owners. Now it could be the big tech, right? So it was like one small percentage gained a lot of wealth while the working class people pretty much lived in poverty. And that's when the class divisions became even more, they deepened and really set the stage for a lot of the labor movements, a lot of the unrest. And um, the other thing also really, really important is like if Pluto and Aquarius wants us to upgrade the quality of life, what we had back then was also because of so many people living, like moving to the cities, what happened was overcrowded housing, very poorly built. And in a way, a lot of the quality of life actually decreased because of the living situations and the environmental degradation, the air pollution, the water pollution, because of the factories and that of course brought a lot of disease outbreaks. And it really was the marker of the industrial impact to our ecosystem. So again, those things already happened. That's our past. Are we going to repeat them, or are we going to take the higher road and upgrade life and civil rights and better life to everyone instead of just for a few? Um, Okay, so one more thing that I want to mention that is very important for us um, to pay attention to is that the ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. Okay, so wherever Uranus is transiting, that's going to give us more information about the focus of those years. So, for example, now we're still having Uranus in Taurus, which is all about the economy, physical security, wealth, money. We had the birth of cryptocurrency and decentralized finance. We had Bitcoin and digital banking and NFTs, right? We had all the cashless society, all sorts of, though we started using our phones, our technology to pay for things and to keep track of our finances. Of course, we had a lot of economic instability, market crashes, unpredictable shifts, the birth of digital assets, right? We had also, Taurus is food, so agriculture and the rise of lab-grown meat and vertical farming, and a lot of people shifting to more self-sufficient and the urban gardening and the like eating more like eco-conscious food, and of course biohacking, which is very much about the body, the Taurus. We had the arts, right? Merging of the physical and digital experiences. So all the AI art and wearable tech. We had the rise of AI influencers. And yeah, so this is all during those 7 years that Uranus has been in Taurus. But now, coming up very, very soon, Uranus is going to move into Gemini. This combination of Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius is fast. If we think things are already moving fast, we haven't even seen it like anything, because both Gemini and Aquarius, they bring speed. And we got to fasten our seatbelts because once this Uranus moves into Aquarius, once this Uranus moves into Gemini, we're absolutely going to see things moving even faster. So I'm going to create one video just for Uranus and Gemini because there's of course a lot to unpack. But a little teaser here, a little bit of information is that last time Uranus was in Gemini, this was back in 1941. So from 1941 to 1949, we saw World War II, we saw the atomic age, we saw the rise of aviation, the birth of the computer age, very, very significant changes. So Uranus will be in Gemini from 2025 to 2031. This is going to be another huge milestone for the technological and intellectual revolutions. This is going to be so much about travel, transportation, aviation, vehicles, um, autonomous vehicles, drone transportation probably becoming mainstream, new ways of global mobility. We're going to see our cars, our trains, our um, everything becoming faster, upgraded, more technological. Underground hyperloops, all of those things are really going to um, become a part of our human life. Gemini is also the mind. So mind, education, the educational system, we're probably going to see AI tutors, maybe some holographic classrooms or, we're going to see what's going to happen in terms of like ways of enhancing learning and intelligence and processing information. So it's really going to be really interesting to see how it's going to create ways to elevate our brain capacities. Of course, neuroplasticity, which is very much about our brain's incredible capacity to adapt and change and rewire itself. So new ways of forming neural connections to strengthen, existing pathways, weaken. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we're going to be able to learn a new skill or a new language with some sort of download. What about healing from some sort of trauma, through technology? It's possible. So, we're probably going to also see an explosion of virtual worlds, and yeah, well, anyway, so I'll cover more of that later. But the atom was first successfully split on 1939. So this was actually the beginning of nuclear um, fission. And even though Uranus was not in Gemini yet, it was still in Taurus, but that event really it laid the groundwork for nuclear power and eventually the atomic bomb, which was this, again, major turning point in science and history. So when the atomic bomb was developed, which was during World War II, um, Uranus was in Gemini. So it's interesting to talk about the split of the atom and Gemini and the duality, the twins, right? So dark side of this combination, Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini, is the breakthrough of science that can be destructive. Pluto. When Uranus moves into Cancer, that's going to be in 2032 to 2040. We're going to see, all sorts of things around national security. Cancer is the home, so technological advancements in the home, so probably more like smarter homes, self-sustainable homes, AI becoming more and more part of our, of our homes, our houses. Um, very likely space colonies. So making a home, that's Cancer, Uranus, outside of Earth, right? Maybe there's going to be new sorts of like communal lifestyles, with Uranus is like collective, is the group. So it could be something like that. Another a fun fact about last time Uranus was in Cancer, this was when the suburbs began to boom in the United States. So it was right after World War II, and there was this shift of like, that's when suburbs became the way of living. And we can see something happening here now where there's a new way, a new sort of communal lifestyle, communal living, and the way our houses are built and the way our houses are connected, all of that. Also, emotional health, maybe radical new therapies and some sort of revolution in the mental health treatment and trauma healing and all of that. This could also be really significant for womanhood, because Cancer is very much women, the women's role, maybe advancing a more gender equality, or more, even more genders, becoming more acceptable and just part of normal life. And then in 2039, when Uranus moves into Leo, Leo is about leadership, it's about the entertainment industry, it's about the monarchy and regimes, of course, children and creativity. So some key themes for this Uranus and Leo, so that's from 2041 to 2049. 2039, sorry, to 2039 to 2040, five. Well, I actually have to check those dates. Now I'm not sure if I got those dates right. But anyways, so we're gonna see huge shifts in the arts, the creative industries. So are we gonna have virtual celebrities like AI musicians? Are we gonna have movies made of just completely holographic actors? Maybe there's gonna be new stories, new forms of storytelling. So the last time we had Uranus and Leo, this was the birth of rock and roll. This was when Elvis Presley exploded, and music became this like vehicle for rebellion and personal expression. We had the Hollywood Golden Age, and we had Marlon Brando and Marilyn Monroe and James Dean. So it's this youth, like this new generation as a cultural force, and the youth rebellion, and how that's really, this reinvention and self-expression and fame and identity. And of course, the leadership and power and political, the monarchies were, will the monarchy survive this Pluto and Aquarius when Uranus is in Leo? I mean, shifts are coming. So, yeah, so much. And I just want to mention one more thing is that um again, I've mentioned this so many times, but last time we had the French Revolution, that's when Uranus was in Pluto. I'm sorry, woo, I'm getting um confused here. Last time Pluto was in Aquarius and we had the French Revolution, the values of the French Revolution were liberty, equality, and fraternity. And to me, those values still ring true today more than ever. To me, that's the highest intention of this Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years, to come together, to unify. Aquarius is the group. Aquarius is our communities, and how we're stronger together, how we're smarter together, how we're more creative together. And we're seeing so much separation, we're seeing so much division. And when we talk, I mean, again, this is my personal opinion, but when we talk about revolutions, I think a revolution first starts within. So before going out there, before wanting to change the world, it is about changing ourselves first. So I do think this is a deep and profound invitation for each one of us during this time to really take advantage, to really take this deep, honest look within ourselves and ask what needs to change. You know, Pluto is about emotional depth. It's about going within. It's about bringing the unconscious to the conscious mind. So what do I need to break away from? What are the old conditioned ways of being, of thinking, of doing that I'm still carrying? What keeps me limited? What's not serving me anymore? And what needs to be elevated, upgraded, improved, healed? Um, because when we change ourselves, I think that's the most powerful way to change the world. And then when we work on ourselves and then we show up in our community and we join forces with others who are consciously doing the same, then we can consciously create a better society, right? A better humanity, and bring the incredible, brilliant mind of Aquarius with its opposite sign, which is Leo, which is the heart. So bringing the heart and the mind together. All right, on that note, thank you so much. You know, may we really use these energies and at times for deep transformation and also at our highest alignment with our hearts, our minds, our spirits. So if you like this video, don't forget to like it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.